Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I thought I'd share my favorite decks for personal readings. I have a lot of decks that I use in different ways for different things. I have decks that I use for study, for meditation, for writing, for teaching, and decks I use for professional readings. These are the 10 decks I currently reach for the most when reading for myself. They aren't the only decks I'm using for personal readings. I did have to narrow down the number just a bit. I also wanted to balance between my most used mass market decks and my most used indie decks. I'm going to start with my mass market decks first. I will also leave purchase links below. It's not my intention to make this a super long video, but it might turn into that, so I will include timestamps just in case. But I really hope you can stay with me for the entire video. I'm excited about this one. Okay, so let's get started. First on the mass market list is Disorder Tarot of Innocence, and right now I probably reach for this deck the most. This deck was published by Los Scarabeo as a part of their Indie Horizon collection. It was released as a limited edition of 4,000 numbered copies, I believe. I am tempted to purchase a second copy before they run out because I am absolutely in love with Diego Gabriel's artwork. There is something about this deck that just draws me in. It is expressive, it is emotional, it feels intimate, the characters are close up and personal. I really love decks like that. The Morgan Greer deck is like that. I also really like the size of this deck, which is just a little bit smaller than the standard tarot size. The cardstock feels really nice for a mass market deck. And if I ever do a top decks of all time video, this one will be on the list because I just think it is so pretty. I know it's black and white, but it's just wonderful. I mean, look at that death card. Come on. I get really good readings with this deck, but the interesting thing about it is that they feel they're direct, but they also have this, they're sensitive. This is a sensitive deck and it's sensitive to my feelings. I know that sounds so weird, but it's true. So this is like my very sensitive, emotional deck that speaks to my soul. I love this Knight of Swords. I love every single card in this deck. I think it's just amazing. Look at her. I literally used this deck this morning, so it hasn't been put back in order. Next on the list is the Bonefire Tarot. This is the second mass market edition. I love the traditional tarot art style of this deck. It reminds me a lot of the street art in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. I like the sort of gritty urban vibe that it has, but at the same time, it also feels very earthy and pagan to me, which is how downtown Asheville felt when I lived there, very urban and earthy. It has a sort of vintage psychedelic feel about it, which I love. And I love the new companion book that comes with the second edition or the second mass market edition, because this was first a Kickstarter deck, which I was never able to get my hands on. The first edition mass market is a little more vibrant, but I think the cardstock is better in the second edition. I love this Nine of Cups. But I just connected with this deck immediately, and I get wonderful personal readings with it. I love this Five of Cups. I love this whole deck. Look at this Ten of Swords. It's so intense. Goodness. The other thing about this deck is like a lot of the people, this is one, I'm sorry, I get distracted, ADD. This is one of my favorite Eight of Pentacles cards. I just love it. Anyway, a lot of the characters in this deck remind me of people that I know. And this might be another reason why I like it so much. The next deck I'd like to share with you is the Curious Travels Tarot. It was originally funded on Kickstarter, but was later picked up by US Games. I just love the watercolor illustrations of this deck. I like to watercolor, and this deck makes me want to paint. The colors are a combination of soft and vibrant, and I really like that. I just find this deck so imaginative. The artwork makes me think of children's storybooks. It just has like a lot of quirky and playful images, but it's also very gentle. There's something magical about this deck, in my opinion, and I just love reading with it. I think the colors are incredible. I love her use of color. I wish someday that I could paint like this, because it's just the imagery and the color palette draw me in. I just think it's so wonderful. I actually mentioned this deck in one of my summer videos. I think it was a couple years ago. I love this strength card. I love that she's just kind of hanging out, you know, on top of the lion's paws. Next on the mass market list is the Tarot de Carlotydes. I have mentioned this deck in a couple other videos. This deck is quirky and it's elegant all at the same time, which I just love. And it has turned out to be one of my favorite tarot decks for personal readings. I like that it feels minimalistic, but it also has a lot of historical symbolism in it. It's eclectic without being chaotic, and this deck really helps me get out of my head. So when I'm stressed out and I'm having a hard time, you know, focusing, some decks just don't work for me, but this deck kind of makes me, you know, stop and really look, and it gives me a different perspective, and it has become a personal favorite of mine. Even though the framework is Rider-Waite-Smith, the images feel more freestyle and intuitive to me. I also really like the size of this deck. The cardstock feels nice, and it's so much fun to shuffle. So this is one of those decks that will never, ever leave my collection. I don't think it could now. I mean, it's kind of worn, and the box is falling apart. This is another deck that I love so much that I'll probably end up getting another copy of the Tarot de Carlotydes in the future. I love this Judgment card, and this is an example of what I mean. This is not what I would typically expect to see as far as the Judgment card. So that's why I love it so much. Last on the mass market list is the Mystical Moments Tarot. This is another deck I've mentioned in previous videos. The deck has this soft, surreal, dreamy feel, and I knew that I would love the colorful, like vintage collage artwork, but I had no idea what a wonderful reader this would turn out to be for me. The cards actually come with 5 alternative cards, 4 alternative female kings, and an alternative female emperor. I kept the male emperor because I like the artwork, but I chose all 4 female kings as alternatives, which is funny because in the past I typically prefer more of a masculine, feminine, balanced deck. But over the years, this has changed, especially when it comes to my personal decks. When I read with this deck, it's not really about other people. I use it primarily for readings that are just about me and where I am in my life. It's not about where everyone else is. It's rarely about relationships. This is my deck, and I call it my selfish deck because I won't ever share it. Occasionally, I might share a personal deck, meaning I might just impulsively do a reading for another person using a personal deck, but not this one. Look at this Seven of Cups. Oh, this deck, every single card just draws me in. Just so pretty. This is one of those decks that just never gets put back on the shelf. The colors are amazing. Her imagination is just insane. Look at that. I just think it's wonderful. First on the indie list is the Painted Tarot. This is another deck that would definitely end up on my all-time favorites video if I ever decide to do one. I just love the vibrant, expressive, character-driven images of this deck. I love how it has a textured vibe and how the characters are so close up. It just feels so personal to me. The cardstock is a little stiff and the deck is a little chunky, but I still love it and I use it all the time. I also have the painted runes cards that she created, and I just love this deck. Typically I use real runes rather than pairing tarot with oracle decks when I do readings, but what a perfect pairing, right? They just go so well together. And after I got this one, she did release the same deck with more flexible cardstock, but by the time I stopped trying to justify getting an additional copy, it was gone. And that happens to me a lot. By the time I talk myself into it, after spending so much time talking myself out of a deck, the deck is gone, and then I spent years trying to chase that deck down. I think I saw it on her website, I'm not sure, but she mentioned that she will be releasing this deck at some point. I'm just not sure when. I will say this, the next time she does release this deck, I'm getting another copy. I will include her social media information and her website information below, just in case you want to reach out to her. I feel like if people bug her enough, she'll finally reprint this deck. I love this Three of Cups. Two of Swords. I also really like the Six of Cups. I like this whole deck. I think this is one of my favorites. And look at the colors. Just gorgeous. Next on the list is the Marea Tarot. I started using this deck for personal readings sometime in 2023 and I have never stopped. This deck is a faithful but more inclusive re-envisioning of the Thoth deck, which I studied exclusively for at least 10 years before I started reading professionally. And you wouldn't know it now, but during that time, I hardly allowed myself to purchase other decks. And I almost always ended up giving them away when I did. It wasn't until I started reading cards professionally sometime in 2004 that something shifted. I found myself going down the Rider-Waite-Smith rabbit hole. I started teaching, and then it was my interest in the Marea Tarot, which was put on hold until recently. But my love for the Thoth deck never changed. My interest just sort of waned for a bit. That is until the Tableau Monday Tarot came out, which is another Thoth-based deck. It is incredibly beautiful and it is an amazing study deck. And the companion book that goes with it is amazing. M.M. Moline she's just like this wealth of information. She kind of makes me feel like an idiot. However, I find that I use the Marea Tarot more for personal readings. I really love the imagery of this deck. It just has this sort of dreamy vibe. I find it just intuitively digestible, and it just, I can't stop looking at the images. I love her color palette. I love the combination of soft and vibrant colors that are in this deck. Also, this deck keeps me in touch with my first tarot love. Also, this deck shuffles like a dream. I could shuffle this deck all day long, and I probably have. I really like the guidebook that goes along with it as well. It's designed to break down the Thoth system a bit. So it's good for beginners as well as experienced readers. And it's pretty comprehensive. It's not too overwhelming, but she does, you know, put as much information as she can. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite tarot decks. A lot of the cards, or I should say some of the cards look different, but a lot of them are very faithful as far as the way that they look to the Thoth deck. I'll show you in a second, but I absolutely love these queens, the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles. Aren't they amazing? They're so gorgeous, I can hardly take it. But see, here's the Two of Wands. A lot of the minor arcana outside of the court cards are very similar to the Thoth deck. Like this is one of them. This is another. I really like this Princess of Wands. Here's another one, very similar to the Thoth deck. The Nine of Cups. And I like that she did that. I really do. I like the differences, and I like the cards that sort of stayed the same or stayed very similar, like the Three of Cups. This is so gorgeous. Look at this Two of Discs. Isn't it beautiful? Very similar to the Thoth deck. I never get tired of looking at it. The next deck I wanted to share with you is the Jaus Sparrow Tarot. I recently posted a video about this one, and it has become one of my favorite decks for personal readings. It's incredibly direct, but it has an amazing sense of humor. This deck just makes me laugh. And not just at the images, but at myself, especially when I'm taking myself way too seriously. I love the cartoon comic vibe of this deck. I love all of the characters. I love the situations that they're in. And I like the way that this deck delivers messages. This is one of those decks that I will never part with. I find it so fun and so clever. Plus, the cardstock is amazing. I really enjoy shuffling this deck, and I get amazing readings. So the Jaus Sparrow Tarot has become kind of a personal workhorse for me, and it's definitely my go-to deck when I need to get to the point. I need to know what's going on. This deck just does not lie to me. Whether I like it or not, this deck is very honest. And again, this is another one of those decks that feels like the images are close up. And I just really like that. I also like the subtlety of the images, like this moon card. Look at this Ten of Wands. That's so cute. This is one of my favorite cards. Sorry, I didn't put these in any particular order. And I really like this Queen of Pentacles and all her little rabbits. It's so cute. Next on the list is the Black Lily Tarot. Um, the sultry, moody, gritty images of this deck isn't for everyone, but I am all about it. This is actually one of my favorite chariot cards. The deck is rich, earthy. It is right up my alley. It's poker size, which I love. And if you're interested, the Black Lily Tarot is available via the Game Crafter print-on-demand platform. But you can also find it on eBay, which is probably faster. And sometimes I've seen it on Etsy. I wasn't sure if I would, but I connected with this deck immediately and I used it exclusively for months after I got it. I even made a reversible tarot cloth especially for this deck. I have only done this a couple times in the past and only for my professional decks, so my reading table would look nice. This is another deck that speaks directly to my soul. I was so attached to this deck when I first got it that I carried it with me a lot until I accidentally washed it in the washing machine. And there have only been 3 decks that I ever felt absolute panic and utter devastation when I lost them. This is one of them. I immediately had to order another copy and paid extra for super fast shipping, which I didn't do the first time because I had no idea that I would connect with it like I did. But it is just, again, it's one of my favorites. It's always nearby and I just happen to think that it's wonderful. I do have friends though that just are completely turned off by the artwork. It's just not, I guess, gentle enough for them, or they don't like the colors. I'm not sure. Okay, but I do love it. I love everything about it. I love this Emperor card too. This deck has my most favorite aces of all time. It's just so beautiful. And it is dark and it is gritty and it's kind of why I like it. But I also just really love her artwork. I really do. Last on the indie list, the Jonasa House Tarot. I actually just posted a video about this deck. I did a walkthrough and a comparison of the 8th and the 9th edition. I will include a link to the video below if you're interested in watching it. I first fell in love with the Stunning Tarot by Jonasa House years ago, so much so that I have more than one copy of this deck. And there wasn't actually an immediate connection with the Stunning Tarot. It was more like this gradual, curious connection, but I became very attached in time. And the only reason that it didn't make the list is because I wanted to stay within the 10 deck range. And as it turns out, since I received the Jonasa House 8th edition, I actually use it more. My connection with this deck was not gradual, it was immediate and I didn't expect it. I give this deck credit for reconnecting me with the Marea Tarot, so I'm studying that deck again. This deck is an intuitive reader for me. It helps me connect with tarot in a very different way, and I just love that about it. Oddly, I chased different editions of this deck for years and I kept missing it. Like I kept missing my opportunity. This may have been fate because I cannot imagine connecting with any of the other editions more than I connect with this one. I love the colors of this deck. I love that they're bold and they're contrasting. Both decks, the Jonasa House Tarot and the Stunning Tarot, feel very pagan to me, so they speak to my pagan soul, I guess. And I just love this deck. It's just so beautiful to me. I mean, aren't the colors amazing? I also use my the tarot cloth that I made for the Black Lily Tarot. I use it with the Jonasa House Tarot, so they kind of share a cloth, and it works perfect. I mean, the colors are perfect for this deck. I think that covers it for my favorite personal decks. And if you made it till the end of this video, thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And let me know what you think of my personal deck choices, and I'd really love to hear what yours are. Thanks again for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye.